Oh, hello, hello. Sir David the Bard. I'm coming to you from Blue Springs, Missouri. I've lived here once before, and I just thought I'd cruise through and see how the Mormons are doing here in Blue Springs because it's Jackson County, Missouri. Now, uh, I just I just had to put my nuts away. Okay, so just hold on. Brass balls, I've been told. And this is the number 10 can that they're usually in. So, there go my nuts. I gave them to the Mormon church 53 years ago. And they gave them back in a can. Anyway, Jackson County, Missouri. Let me tell you something about the Mormons. They've made up a story, and they have convinced the population, members of the Mormon church, that it's true, and they'll all bear their testimony. Jackson County, Missouri is a place that the Mormons say that Jesus is going to show up. Now, I don't know if he's coming into LAX, then he's going to catch a commuter flight over. I don't know. A rocket ship comes down. Hello, I'm Jesus. They say that every tongue will confess. What is it? Every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is the Christ. Now, I thought Christ was his last name. I thought his driver's license just said Jesus Christ. I didn't know. Maybe it says more. Son of God, Emmanuel. I don't know. But the Mormons say that he's going to show up there in Jackson County, Missouri. Now, when I was there weren't too many hotels. Now, maybe they've built it up a little bit, but the reorganized church, and I think it's called the New Church of Christ now. They've changed their name to protect the innocent, the old Dragnet line. They own most of the temple lot, and I was there when it was the reorganized church, and they have a great big, huge assembly hall. My gosh, it's kind of like a baseball stadium, but it has a roof on it. And you can go in, and they had meetings in there. It's like the Tabernacle. They had their general conference. And then I went upstairs and looked at the museum, and they had a lot of stuff up there. The original Book of Mormon, hair from Joseph Smith's haircut, hair from Helen Mar Kimball, and it kept jumping from basin to basin. I don't know how it did that, but it was pretty amazing. So anyway, the reorganized church believed that Brigham Young took a group of fools out of the Nauvoo there, and Emma Smith joined the reorganized, and I think one of Joseph's sons, I don't remember. But anyway, the break-off group, the reorganized church, decided not to go to Utah. They'd moved already 6 or 7 times from Kirtland, and they go, you know what? We got to learn to get along with people. They're just driving us from state to state. And of course, Brigham Young said, screw everybody, come with me. Jesus is on our side. So the Mormons took off there from Nauvoo and Far West, and the reorganized, Emma and the rest of them stayed there. Well, the reorganized bought the temple site that I guess Joseph Smith dedicated, that's where the Jackson County New Zion temple was going to be built. Now, he calls it the New Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem's been out there for a long time. And Joseph said, Jesus is not coming to Jerusalem. There's no parking there. It's too damn hot. So he's coming to Jackson, not Jackson Hole. I've been in Jackson Hole, too. That's a better place for Jesus to go to. That's a bitchin' little town. Anyway, he's coming to Jackson County, Missouri. Well, I lived in Blue Springs, and that's in the county, and I went over a couple of times, and I saw the auditorium and toured, and talked to them, and they said they believe that the true order of the priesthood passes from father to son, not just from male to male, and that Joseph Smith Jr., and he had a little baby wife. She hadn't even grown up yet, but anyway, he carried her around in a basket, and, there's the next wife. She's got to grow just a few more years, and I think she was 9. Anyway, they started their own group down there. Now, when I was in Provo and Orem at BYU, there was a reorganized church there in Provo, and it was kind of set back off the road a little bit. I never went there, and of course, being a Mormon, you're not allowed to talk to anybody that's against you, and they were against the Mormon church according to the Mormons. Well, the temple site has on it an old wood, beautiful little building. It's a chapel, and now it has the temple of the reorganized church, which looks like an upside down top. Do you remember the thing that had the handle that went up and down, and the top went round and round, and the more you did it, the faster it went? Well, that's what their temple looks like. And they have built it. It was millions of dollars. And so they have a large presence there on the temple site. Well, there's a little piece, I don't know if it's 4 acres, 5 acres, something like that the Mormon church owns. It's the small portion. And I know the Mormon church has tried to buy the rest of it, and the New Church of Christ said, no, screw you. If Jesus is coming, we want to be here. So you have two cult religions, both believing in Joseph Smith, that Jesus and his entourage of angels and chariots are going to end up in that little spot there in Jackson County, Missouri. Now let me tell you an interesting story, and I think I put this in a video a year or two ago. I guarded the Jackson County Mormon Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints temple lot, their little piece of it. I took my son Dan out there, and we camped out, laid on the lawn, and we stayed overnight. Now here's why. The Mormon church was putting on a pageant there on the temple site. They'd built a little stage, and they had some actors that were practicing, and they were going to present to the Mormons and to the community a show, the Cumorah pageant. I've never been to the whole pageant. It was too boring. But I drove by, and I saw, angels flying and ropes and people tangling and missionaries. And I saw a lot of Reformed Egyptians. But anyway, I was in the Palmyra there. I've been to where the golden plates were found. I saw the hole in the ground, but there weren't any plates in it. Anyway, Jackson County, Missouri is an interesting place. So the bishop asked me if I would take my son camp out. It's called a father and son. At least he wasn't being molested in the scouts. I could be sure of that. We stayed overnight to protect the stage and all of the audio and visual equipment, so nobody would steal it. I don't think Jesus needs a microphone, but he might need microphones and seats for people to sit in. And if you have to sit, bring your Cheerios and throw them at your 2-year-old. So anyway, that was my experience there guarding the temple site. Now, in the Blue Springs ward, we didn't gather guns and food. But the ward next to us, which was closer to the temple site, did. They had a magic cave or something where the members, I don't know if it was approved by the church or not, so I'm not going to say. But the members were like militia, Mormon militia. That's M&M, and that ain't the candy. And they were dumping guns and, I don't know, powder for guns and bullets and peanut butter and bread. So when Jesus came, he'd have something to eat and something to shoot with. I don't know why Jesus would be shooting people, but they thought he was. So that ward, it wasn't our stake. I do remember that. It wasn't our stake. So my experience with Jackson County, Missouri was personal. It was hands-on. And all the years I was in the Mormon church for over a half a century, the general authorities and the prophet of the church, and if you look into B.H. Roberts' comprehensive history of the church, there are many, many comments by many, many leadership people that said in the last days, when Jesus comes, the Mormons are going to migrate from Utah back to Jackson County. Now, I've been in Salt Lake, and there's a whole bunch of wagons and horses that are piled up beside the temple. You get one if you're wearing garments. If you're not wearing garments, you're walking. You're walking. So I hope they go in the summertime, because, I don't walk good in the snow. Anyway, I don't know how the Mormons are going to get back there. I moved there to Blue Springs because I thought Jesus was coming. What a stupid shit. I moved my whole family there because I believed. I believed that when the prophet speaks, the conversation is over. And so I was a faithful member of the church, and I said to my family, the Bart ain't crazy about walking in the snow. Why don't we go now while there's still interstate highways and there's not dead people laying all over the ground and everything? Yeah, okay, Dad, let's go to Missouri. And we did. And we did. Now, I have to tell you something, because one of you asked the other day, and I thought it was a good question. How do you account for spiritual experiences? Our out-of-body experiences and the reports by thousands of people of being out of their body and near-death experiences on the operating table, etc. How are those things generated? Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't think I put this on a video anywhere, because it's just coming to my mind now. I've had 2 dreams that I thought were revelation. I thought were revelation. Now, you got to be careful. If you're in a damn cult, if the umbrella that I'm sitting under here shakes, that's a trigger to a Mormon that it's the Holy Ghost. If the TV turns off, there was an electrical failure, but you don't know that, and it turns off, you think that's Jesus saying yes to your prayer. Now, we've been taught this in a cult, that there are many strange outside events that the Lord speaks to us. Well, when I was about 14, maybe 12 or 14, and dodging Joseph Smith, he was AC/DC in those years, and I could outrun Helen. So, God, Helen got the screwing of her life. Anyway, I had a dream, and I thought it was from God. I'm mentally ill, but I've never, lost contact with my Mormon family. I've lost contact, but I mean, in the environment, or gone crazy in a white coat and off and held on the ass. I've never been that bad. Anyway, the dream was I was going to Salt Lake City. Now, I lived in California when I was growing up, and I dreamed I was going to Salt Lake City. And my dad, the pedophile, and his best friend were with me. And we were walking like Missouri. But I was walking like slow motion and uphill. Now, Nordic Track got this idea from my dream. I thought the Lord had commanded me to go to Salt Lake City and see the prophet. Well, every Mormon boy thinks he's a prophet. My dad had a son, Dan, which I guess is a brother, a half-brother to me. And I don't think Dan has ever been out of jail. He's wanted everywhere in Topeka, Kansas. My dad, when he named him, this is how bizarre my dad was, he named him the Little Prophet. Jesus Christ. The nutball things Mormons do. And we were there. We were as nutty as a fruitcake like the rest of them. Well, anyway, we're walking uphill, and I'm going really slow, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle. See, everything in the Mormon church is this, you're fighting against Satan. You're fighting against Satan. So anyway, I got to Salt Lake City, and I started walking up these long, long stairs up to the temple. Now, that came from the Cleopatra movie. If you've ever seen Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor bringing her into the city, that's what I look like, going up the steps of the Mormon temple there. And on both sides of me, there were little children admiring and worshiping me. So I knew, there was something in this for me. They knew something I didn't know, probably, that the mental health people were coming in the van. I don't know. So anyway, I got into the building, and I said to people, I'm looking for the prophet. And they said, well, go down there to the room and on the left. I said, okay. They knew the bard was coming. So I go in this room, and there's this huge audience sitting on pews, like in the Mormon church. A little day residue there. And there was a guy at the front talking, as boring as any sacrament meeting I've ever been in, probably one of the high councilmen that they rotate to come to your ward that don't know shit. But there's not enough speakers, so they bring them in once a month. So I'm sitting there, and all the people are shaking their head and approving of the speaker. Well, pretty soon, I'm engrossed in a vision. Now, I don't think that Joseph Smith, in the Magic Forest, the yellow and brick road forest, the sacred grove, had anything on me. I thought, it's gonna be me. Do you know bipolar grandiose is one of our symptoms of bipolar disorder? Anyway, the vision said that the man in front of me was Satan, and he was leading all these people astray. Now, you don't think that's any day residue to the temple, do you? Where Satan shows up, and he's telling they've changed this now, the preacher, if you bring all these people unto me, whatever. So there was some day residue there mixed in. So I had the choice, and here it is, Mormonism, to its hilt, to get up and leave. And all the people were looking at me. The world, the entire world audience was looking at me. Does he have the balls to leave, Satan speaking? And I did. I got up, I crowded down the bench, and all the people were silent and just staring at me. So I kept saying to people, I need to see the prophet. I need to see the prophet. I've come here to see the prophet. So anyway, they said, well, go down there. So I went down, and there was a big desk, and a white-haired man behind the desk. Well, it was David O. McKay. You guys were born long after this prophet died. And he was sitting there with his white hair, and I said, good morning, this is Sir David the Bard, Emperor of Salt Lake City. Well, sort of. I said, I've been sent here by the Lord. Jesus. And in the dream, he doesn't say anything to me. Now, this reminds me a lot of an ex-wife. He says nothing after I told him who I was. And he had a picture on his desk, and he turned it so I could see the picture. And it was the next prophet. He knew who the next prophet was going to be, and it was my face. And I was in a uniform, like a U.S. military uniform, like I'm going to have to fight for God and fight for this church and fight, I'm the new Abraham Lincoln and George Washington of the Mormon Church. Well, then the dream dissipated, went away. But I remember it to this day. Revelation, grandiose, mental illness, who knows? And who could ever predict? I didn't know. So now the second dream I had was shorter, much shorter. And most of you are glad of that. I was walking along the trail of going back to Missouri. Like the prophet said, that's how we're going to get there. And the year's supply of food that they kept telling us we had to have, I was carrying as much of it, and I guess I had a hand cart or a wagon. My RAV4 was not running, I guess. I don't know. I could have used some four-wheel drive, but anyway. There were a lot of the saints we had in my head that were dying. And it's kind of like when they came out, they were dying, and when they walked back, they were dying. So I had to step over a few dead bodies and a few dead children. And my brother, Randy, the crazy one, Randy, God. If you believe in ancient aliens, there's one right there. He was with me. And Randy's always been a follower of me. I've always been the oldest brother. He's the next one down. And I'm the one that got all the brains, and he's the one that got shit for brains. The one in the Philippines that threw his passport in the ocean. The one in the Philippines that was screwing 12, 13-year-old sisters. The one in the Philippines that's wanted in every state in the United States. He's never coming back. And the one in the Philippines, if they knew he was there, the Filipinos would arrest him. Americans can't live there without paying $50,000 and a few other things. Anyway, we were fighting. It was kind of like the Redcoats and the British, not the British, but I mean people like the British. It's the opposite. You know, the British were walking and the revolutionaries were shooting them from the forest. Well, we were being shot from the forest. And I guess I had a gun and I was shooting back, and they were shooting at us. And one of them killed my brother Randy. Now Randy believes that this is his destiny. Now see, I'm smart enough now in my old age to go, it's just a damn dream and there's nothing to it. But see, I've been to Carthy's jail, and Hiram, Joseph's brother, was shot in the face first, flopped on the floor and said, "I'm a dead man." Well, he didn't need to make that announcement. Evidently, it was obvious he was a dead man. So my brother, following the Joseph Bard, he was shot and he was killed. So Randy has always had a very carefree and laissez-faire association with life, because he believes he's going to be called back to Missouri, and then he'll be walking and that somebody's going to shoot him from the forest, and that's how he's going to die. Now, you guys think I'm making this up. You guys all think the Bard is making this shit up. Look at the link. Look at the link and tell me, am I making this up? The Mormon Church has said this shit for years, has scared the hell out of the population, has made us gather food and water for a year. Now, our garage, two-car garage in California, was full of water and wheat. And I said to myself, how the hell are we going to carry this shit to Missouri? It would take an 18-wheel truck. And, you know, we're going to be pushing hand cars. So, anyway, look down below at the link, see if the Bard's lying. Another fantasy of the Mormon Church. Maybe they'll write an essay on it that is bullshit. But anyway, I keep looking for Jesus. The religious people of the world say we're in the 11th hour. Well, let me tell you something about the 11th hour. All the clocks in the world stop at the 11th hour. It's been 2 centuries, and he didn't come back, he didn't show up. So I don't know if his plane has been delayed, or he's having problem with the baggage, he doesn't have enough money to put the baggage on, or all of the wild horses pulling the chariots ran away. I don't know where Jesus is, and frankly, I don't care. And if he doesn't show up, the Bard ain't going to be surprised. There'll be a bunch of Mormons there with some wheat and water going, what the fuck? Where's the Jesus? The Bard knows he ain't coming. So, I continue to have health in the navel, marrow in the bone, strength in the loins and the sinews, power and priesthood be upon me and upon my posterity through all generations of time and throughout all eternity. Please do not slit my throat. Please do not cut my stomach open. Please take a look at the Bard store. One of my customers said he got his button. He got a Bard button. He's wearing it around. But you do that around Mormons, and that's like a target. Don't wear it over your heart. If you get a Bard button, don't put it on the left side by your heart. So anyway, there's no crazier religion. I was there, seen it with my own eyes, heard it with my own ears, not something that has been trained in me or given to me by any other human being. I've walked the walk. I've talked the talk. So this Bard is gone.